Hello everyone and welcome to a new tier list, the first tier list for this channel actually. What it is I'm going to be ranking all the Need for Speed cover cars, but how they are as actual cars. Now, this is going to be a very top heavy tier list because usually they pick out some really quite nice models. Now there are some I don't like quite so much, but it's not like there's any Ladas or Fiat Multiplers or anything. Now, another thing I want to clarify is for any modified cars, like for example the 350 from Underground 2, I'm going to rank them in their stock unmodified version unless they exist in real life, such as the ASAP Rocky 190E. But yes, other than that, I'll just get on with it. And what better place to start than with the first cover car in Need for Speed history, the Lamborghini Diablo VT, which, as I mentioned, featured on the cover of the Road and Track Need for Speed, which was the first game in the series. Now, I really like the classic Need for Speed games, because personally I prefer the supercar era of Need for Speed, just the beautiful, winding coastal roads, the high-speed chases and all of that. Not to say I don't like the tuning underground street racing games, I do, but I prefer the supercar games. On the subject of the Diablo though, it's my favourite Lamborghini ever made. More than the Aventador, more than the Murcielago, more than the Countach, more than any of them. It's just brilliant, I love it. It was the final truly mad production Lamborghini as well, before Audi made them slightly more sensible. Now, for the VT itself, definitely dream car, 100%. It's not my absolute favourite. I prefer ones like the GTR and the SE 6 litre, but still, excellent, incredible car. I've got next to nothing bad to say about it, other than the fact that it can be quite scary, but hey, just get good at driving, I suppose. Anyway, next car, the Nissan GTR, the 2007 one, which featured on the cover of Need for Speed Pro Street and as a police car in Need for Speed Undercover. Now, the GTR, I like the GTR a lot. I mean, when it came out, it was a bit of a technological tour de force. It was more advanced and faster and cheaper than a lot of its rival supercars, which is quite ironic that towards the end of its life it was a bit of a dinosaur. It was less technologically advanced, more expensive and slower than a lot of its rivals, but I don't know, it's a GTR, you can't help but love it. A lot of people tune them to beyond recognition. I personally prefer mine to be stock, but maybe that's just because I'm boring. In terms of the original one, again, I'd put it somewhere in the middle in terms of GTRs. I like it more than some of the base model later ones, but I also prefer ones like the V-Spec and the Nismos. So yes, I think putting it Sub-Zero is a fair place to put it. Next car, the BMW M5, featured on the cover of the dreadful Need for Speed Payback. I don't mind the Fast and Furious style story for Payback. It's different. They're trying something different, and it was cheesy, but again, it was different, and I appreciate it for that. What I can't stand, however, is that stupid loot box upgrade system and the fact that you had to buy 3 different cars instead of just changing the parts on a car. If you like, for anyone who's not played it, let me put it into perspective for you. Let's say you've bought a Nissan 350 and you want to turn it into a track car. All well and good, you've got a track car. Let's say you need to do a drag race event and instead of buying a new car you want to use your 350. In any other game you'd just change the parts around on it. In Payback you'd have to buy an entirely new 350 because they have this system where there's like different dealerships and you can build one car into an off-road car, build one car into a drift car, build one car into a track car, and that's it. It's stupid. It might not sound as bad the way I'm explaining it, but it is. It's awful. It's stupid. And also, no free roam police, and again, the stupid loot box upgrade system is just dreadful. What isn't dreadful, however, is this M5. I prefer like the E39 and things like that, but it's not got a V10 or anything. It's got a twin turbo V8, but that's still brilliant. People often say the 911 is all the car you'll ever need, and that's probably true, to be honest. But the M5 is probably even more all the car you'll need, because it's as fast as a lower end 911. It's potentially more practical as well. So where do I put it? Again, this isn't my favourite M5. It's certainly better than the newest one, but where do I put it? I think putting it below the GTR is a fair idea. I was going to say fair shout, but no, again, that probably would have made more sense. A fair idea, wouldn't it? Anyway, next car, Peugeot 206 WRC. Now, you might not remember this from any Need for Speed game, but there was a rally game in the 90s called V-Rally, and I in North America it was called Need for Speed V-Rally. So, and I'm counting it as a Need for Speed game. Mostly because I get to rank a 206 World Rally car, which is brilliant. I believe it was the last Peugeot to win the World Rally Championship. And unlike the standard 206, it's a great thing. I love a rally car. I love a 90s and early 2000s rally car as well. Just that and Group B, my two favourite eras of rallying. And where do I put the 206? I like a racing car as well. I think, honestly, it might seem weird to put a hatchback above a GTR, but it's a rally hatchback, so I'm putting it here because I'm just a bit of a sucker for old racing cars. I mean, that's weird saying that thing's old now. I've made myself feel old again, even though I'm not. Anyway, next car, Nissan 350Z. Now, the 350, it's got that great VQ V6 engine. That's a point in its favour. Looks decent, very well. However, it's got a bad reputation as being a takeover car. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a takeover is, it's basically a bunch of hooligans take over a junction or an intersection, because they're more common in America, and just do donuts in it until either the police show up, the car explodes, or they hit someone, basically. So yeah, idiots, just go to a racetrack or a skid pan if you want to mess about in cars. But yeah, it's rant over. It doesn't make me dislike the 350, because it's quite a great car. I think it's better than the 370, because the 350 has a bit of a wild streak that sort of the 370 sort of did away with. The 370 is a better looking car, but I think the 350 is a better car. So I think still putting them in cool is a fair idea. Like, maybe interesting. No, the 370 it looks good enough, and it's not a bad car in terms of the way it drives. It's just the 350 was better, and there were better options than the 370 at the time. So yeah, I mean, even an MX-5 is more fun, albeit not as fast. Anyway, the 370 was on the cover of Need for Speed World, and the 350 was on Need for Speed Undercover 2, which I forgot to mention. Which I'm probably going to do more, but I'm going to make a habit of trying to mention it as soon as I announce the car. Like this, the Ferrari 512 TR, which joins the Diablo on the cover of Road and Track Need for Speed. Now, what this is basically just an improved Testarossa, and the Testarossa is a brilliant and legendary car. Not so great to live with now, but that's not the point. It's an old Ferrari. You shouldn't expect to be able to live with it. But yeah, this is just an improved Testarossa. Maybe not with the way it looks. I feel like they're about the same. It certainly looks better than the F512M, which was a bit of a disaster, all things considered. But where do I put it? I think I'm still going to put it up in Dream Car, because I love a 90s and 2000 supercar. If you've seen anything before, that's like my era in terms of cars. But yes, this is where it's going. I think that's a good place to put it. Again, this is going to be a very top-heavy tier list. Next car, Ferrari 550 Maranello, which featured on the cover of Need for Speed High Stakes with a Porsche. This Porsche, in fact. Now, the 550? Now, this might seem weird to some people. I think this is probably one of the best-looking Ferraris ever made. Better looking than 250? No. Not as good looking as some of the classic ones, but in terms of like more modern Ferraris, it's better. And in terms of just lineage, like the 599, the F12, and the 812 Superfast, and now the 12 Cylindri, I think it's better looking than all of those. And it's certainly no bad car. It's a proper front-engined Ferrari GT. It's just a very, very good thing. The early flappy paddle gearboxes on them, because Ferrari were early adopters of the flappy paddle gearbox. They were the first to bring it into Formula 1, so they thought, right, we can sell more cars by saying our road cars have a Formula 1 gearbox, and maybe it worked, but the early gearbox is not brilliant. So if you get a manual one, it's a dream car. With the flappy paddle gearbox, I'd probably put it high Sub-Zero, but given it the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to do the manual one, especially as it probably was one of the earlier ones. I think I'm going to put it above the 206 WRC. Now, the Charger, Dodge Charger from 1969 that featured on the cover of Need for Speed Nitro, whilst being heavily mutilated, as all the cars in Need for Speed Nitro were. Now, the Charger, it's brilliant. It's a lovely classic muscle car. I wouldn't have mine in this black colour. I would have it in something a bit more loud, like a bright green or a bright blue or an orange or something. But this, is it my favourite classic muscle car? No, I think I prefer the Challenger, at least in terms of the classic ones. But it's still brilliant. It just exudes menace like no other car on the road. And I know I just dismissed it for the black colour for it, but a black Charger is just, it's just one of those cars that exudes pure evil and menace and presence, and it's brilliant. I think I'm going to put it between the M5 and the GTR. Actually, no, I'm going to put one step below the M5. No. Right, something else you got to know about me is that I am indecisive. I can't make up my mind for the life of me. But, hey, here we are. Next, we've got a big, long row of Porsches. So I'll try not to repeat myself too much. Starting with the 997 generation Porsche 911 Carrera, which featured on the cover of Need for Speed Most Wanted 510, which was, I believe, a PSP port. Might have been 3DS as well, of the original 2005 Most Wanted. Now, like I said with the M5, 911. All the car you'll ever need. Now, because of the cars I like and the cars I grew up with, this is probably my second favourite generation of 911. Because, now this might be a bit controversial, the 996 with the fried egg headlamps is my favourite generation of 911, at least in turbo form. I prefer some of the other Carreras, but my favourite 911 is a Turbo S 996 with the fried egg headlamps. You can flame me all you want for that, but it's what I think. But I'm indecisive, so tomorrow will probably be a GT2 or something. But hey, this was 997 Carrera. Where does it go? I think up. Isn't 911 really like Sub-Zero? I think I'm putting it a bit high. Because I like the 997, but I feel like the Carrera is just a basic choice. Same with the 991, which featured on the cover of Most Wanted 2012. Brilliant cars, but they're the obvious choice, and I like obscure cars a bit more. Again, this is all my, as you might be able to tell, this is all my personal, subjective, and often wrong rankings. So, in terms of basic Carreras, I actually prefer the 991. I've got no definitive favourite 911. They're just all over the place, to be honest. So yeah, the 991 Carrera goes here. Next, now this is a car I'm conflicted about, right? It's an RWB Porsche 911 that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed 2015, the reboot, which was a massive missed opportunity in itself. Now this, I don't usually like modified cars too much. I usually prefer them in stock, but this is one of the best modified cars I've ever seen. But they are an obvious choice in terms of modified cars, and I usually prefer the base model, but then I also don't because I can't decide, because I'm indecisive, so I'm really, really conflicted on this. I think, honestly, I'm feeling quite good about them at the minute. This is probably one of my most chopped and changed opinions, but I think I'm going to put it one step below the Charger and above the M5 for now. It's subject to change probably in the next 5 minutes. Anyway, 993 Porsche 911 Turbo. Is it Turbo S? No, I think it's the Turbo S. That was featured on the cover of Need for Speed High Stakes with the 550. Now, the 993, where does it go? Certainly goes in Sub-Zero. And I think I love an old 911. I'm going to put it above the GTR, to be honest. I don't know, I just love the 993 shaped 911. And I said 996, yes, this is going to be controversial, but I'm putting the 996 above the 208 World Rally Car because the turbo is it's like the Grand Touring, maybe even Super GT, but maybe not that far. 911, in a straight line, it's usually the fastest, except the GT2s. But then the GT3s are usually faster because they're more track focused and hardcore. And again, it's all over the place. Trying to explain 911s to someone else who doesn't have an idea of what they're talking about is like trying to explain the difference between. Okay, I can't think of a good example, but the difference between something identical but completely different. That's like the worst metaphor I've ever used, but I think you get what I mean, especially if you are a Porsche guy yourself. I'm not, but I like Porsches. I'm not like a massive Porsche enthusiast, but I like Porsches. Again, I'm complicated as well. Anyway, the Mercedes 190e from Need for Speed Unbound. It obviously, as you might be able to tell, it's not a stock 190e. It's actually a very special 190e. It belongs to the rapper A$AP Rocky, and again, I'm conflicted towards this as well, but more disliking it because, right, it's not a 190e Evo 2. Don't panic, but I love an old 190, and I think you should leave them alone. Leave them alone. But the one that was turned into this was dusty and likely gonna sit rotting away, which I applaud him for saving an old car like that. And what he's done to it is very unique and special. But unfortunately, it's not really my cup of tea. I don't know. It's just I'm not the biggest fan of it. In the same way with Need for Speed Unbound, I like they tried the new idea. In fact, I've actually not got a problem with the cel-shaded graphics and the cartoon effects and things. It's just the execution of it is quite poor. Except, actually no, it's the opposite. This and Unbound, the opposite. I like what they did with Unbound, but the execution was poor. The execution on this Mercedes is fantastic, but I don't like it. But I think it's good enough to be interesting. It's certainly not an average car. I mean, it'd probably make you stop and stare more than a 370 at least. But my rankings, this is just what I've called it is. It's not how much they turn my head. It's how much I'd like them. Because I'd be more likely to detect a Porsche than an M5. I mean, an M5, I'm not saying I'll ignore an M5, but like from 500 metres away, I'll think, oh, that's a 911, not. And I'll think, oh, it's another 5 Series. Then maybe it's like, mind you, the M5. I'm just rambling off about nothing at the minute. I should get back to the list, shouldn't I? Anyway, next car, the 997 generation Porsche 911 GT2 that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Undercover. That game was absolutely awful. The police chase system is alright, but if you must get Need for Speed Undercover, get it on a PC, get some mods. Ideally, Need for Speed Undercover Reformed, you'll have a much better time. Anyway, this. The GT2 RS was actually called the Widowmaker because it was that scary. The GT2 isn't there, but it is quite a frightening car because rear engine, rear wheel drive, unless you set it up right, it's going to be scary, even if it is fast and grippy. If you treat it improperly, it'll not be so grippy and you'll be in a hedge, upside down and on fire. Now, what do I do with this? Because, again, with 911s, I think honestly, I'm going to put up here like lower dream car, to be honest, because I love a GT2 911. I just like the 997 shape, because, I mean, the first game I ever played was Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and that sort of got me into cars, and that had the 997 shape 911. So when I think of a 911, I usually think of that, despite my weird current obsession with the 996. But yes. Anyway, Koenigsegg Agera R, which was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Rivals, which is a fantastically underrated game, and you should play it. on PC, if you can get Rivals Plus, do that. But even on console, it's great. It's usually massively on sale, and it's on the Xbox Game Pass. Just play it, try it. I know it has its problems. It's very buggy. The story's lackluster, despite them hyping it up. But honestly, if you can get some friends, you can just mess about, do whatever, race, brawl, do police chases. You can do somewhat realistic. You can get closest to like realistic police chases with tactics and things that you can in any other Need for Speed game. Well, when you're the cop, I mean, obviously you've got Most Wanted. But yes, really, you should try out Rivals. Now, the Koenigsegg Agera R. Honestly, this might seem weird, but it's probably one of my more disliked Koenigsegg's. But that's weird to say because I love it dearly. It goes straight up on Dreamcast. But it's like, but I prefer the CCs and maybe the Regera, but I'm not sure. Now I'm gonna put. Now it might seem weird putting it below these cars. Okay, I'll maybe put this a bit high. See, I knew it. I knew I'd change my mind on this. Is that I'd gone behind the GT2, but yeah, the Agera, fantastic, incredible, immensely fast machine. But I prefer the CC Koenigsegg's and the the CC50 is a CC Koenigsegg, and the 1-to-1 and all that. I don't know. It's just the way I am. It's one of these things I can't explain, even if I tried. Anyway, next car, Lamborghini Aventador, which featured on the cover of Need for Speed: The Run. I'm sure I remember it featuring a Mustang, but I think that must have been in trailers and things because it's got an Aventador on it. Again, that might be because of other market-related problems, and if it does have a Mustang in, don't worry because there's a Mustang also featured on a different Need for Speed game, which we've got here. But anyway, Aventador LP700-4, my fourth favourite Aventador, because I prefer the 50th anniversary one, the SVJ and the Ultimai. Fifth favourite because I also prefer the Aventador J. No, I prefer the LP. Okay. I'm not going to try and compare to cars that aren't on this list. I'm just going to get on and rank the LP700-4. And it's just brilliant. It's so much better than the Rev Welter with that V12 engine, like the aggressive, angular styling. I mean, I know it's got a bit of a reputation for instead of blasting along the Italian autostrada or the Alps at 150 miles an hour screaming, it's usually sitting revving its engine in London at 3:15 if you're lucky. But hey, it's just an incredible car, and if people would actually use it properly, then maybe it wouldn't have that reputation. But hey, I think putting it under the 550 and the Diablo is fair, because I mean, obviously I wasn't going to put it above the Diablo, but then maybe I would. But as you've seen, I can't really make up my mind for the life of me, so here we are. Anyway, next car, Chevrolet Bel Air, which was featured on the cover of the, again, dreadful Need for Speed Payback as a heavily modified off-road version. Now, I like the Bel Air. It's a classic slice of 50s Americana, but I prefer these cars. I've never been the biggest fan of it. It's cool and I like it, but I can't really find myself putting it any higher than this, in all honesty. Maybe. No. I think I'm going to keep it like this. Anyway, our next car is another modified one, this time a Rocket Bunny Subaru BRZ that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed 2015. Now, Rocket Bunny cars, I don't know, again, I'm not the biggest on modified cars, but I think the BRZ looks okay. I don't know. I've just never been the biggest fan of lowered wide body cars. I mean, I like an ABT or an Alpina. I mean, is an Alpina really a modified car? I don't know. I'm just going to say, I'll be honest, this BRZ really isn't my cup of tea. I don't even like tea, so that's a bad metaphor as well, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, it's certainly better than average, but I don't know. You might just call me boring, but at least in terms of in the real world, I don't really like modified cars all that much. What I do like, however, is the Chevrolet Corvette C6R that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Absolutely dominant GT2 car. Brilliant, brilliant thing. Sounds brilliant, looks brilliant. Great history in racing. What more can you want? I think I'm going to put it above the Aventador and below the Ferrari 550 because it's great. Potentially my favourite Corvette ever. Now, speaking of Corvettes, I suppose this one can't really do as well as the last one, but hey, the Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport C7, Corvette C7 Grand Sport, yeah, I got that a bit wrong, that was featured as a police car in the cover of Need for Speed Heat. Now, the Grand Sport, again, I'm not the biggest Corvette person, but I like a Corvette in the same way I do with the Porsches. Now, what I think the Grand Sport is basically the Z06's appearance, but not as fast as Z06. It does have some handling upgrades and a bit of a performance upgrade over the C7. What it is basically an in-between step between the C7 Stingray and the true Z06, and fair enough. It's like this might irritate Corvette people, but what I see it as is the Corvette equivalent of an M Sport BMW or an AMG line Mercedes, like the in-between step. Maybe not an AMG line Mercedes, maybe more like, for example, like an A35 or a C43. But hey, still a pretty great car. And for the C7 is probably my third favourite generation. I like the C6 and C5 more. Where does it go though? I think it goes Sub-Zero. I think it goes above the Charger. I think that's a good place to put it. Yeah. Next car, the Dodge Challenger concept that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Carbon. Now, the Challenger, at least for the earlier ones, the early modern ones, I probably like them more than the later Hellcats in terms of appearance. The Hellcats are better, but they're just so like retro modern muscle. Like they were along with the Camaro, the definitive car of that like sort of modern muscle car resurgence. And the concept is like even more like that. It's like goes back to the original Challenger in a good way, even more so than the production car in my eyes. And yeah, it's just a pretty cool car. I mean, I probably like them more than a lot of people in the US because you don't really get any Challengers over here. The only ones are going to be imported ones. I mean, obviously no one gets the Challenger concept because it's a concept. Now the standard one will probably be a bit lower. But honestly, I think it goes above the RWB Porsche and the M5, and that's probably the highest a Challenger would ever go on one of these lists. I've got to be honest, except maybe the classic one. Now, this is a Pagani Zonda Cinque that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010, and there's no other way of putting it. It is my dream car. Well, the Roadster is, but yeah, it's just. I've got no bad things to say about it. Gorgeous. Faster than anything ever. Well, no, that's not true, but it's faster than anything you'll ever want. It's just so fantastically fast, and it's a fun fast. It handles reportedly brilliantly. Not so sure about that, because other people with other Zondas say they're a bit on the limit. Don't care. It just looks brilliant, sounds brilliant. I've got no bad thing to say about it, but you'd expect that because it's my dream car. I'm going to be biased. Just impeccable car choice, EA and Criterion, which Criterion are now doing Battlefront. I'm not going to try and depress myself with the whole EA killing off racing game studios, like they've killed off Codemasters, because they've just recently done that, because Codemasters aren't going to be doing any more rally games, and I don't think they'll be doing any more Formula 1 games either. Mind you, the EA Formula 1 games have been consistently below average for the most part, like maybe F1 2020 notwithstanding. But anyway, next car, Lamborghini Diablo SV, which was featured on the cover of Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, which was from the 90s. Now, this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't think the M3 GTR is the face of Need for Speed. I mean, maybe it is now, but really, for me, the true face of Need for Speed is the Diablo SV, or just the Diablo in general, because the supercar era is what started Need for Speed. The Diablo is the face of the supercar era, and the Diablo was the first cover car and like the hero car of the first Need for Speed, and the SV just was sort of synonymous with the Hot Pursuit era. Maybe it's just me that thinks that, but hey, I'll just throw that out there. And everything I said about the Diablo before, it's just applied to the SV and a bit more, because it's just, at least in my eyes, a better version of this Diablo VT. Anyway, next car, Mitsubishi. I'm on form today, I am. Mitsubishi right. Third time's the charm. Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 9 MR. Yes. From Need for Speed Carbon. Now, this is my favourite Evo. Again, phenomenal choice, whoever was choosing cover cars for this. Especially, I like the livery they put on it, like the purple and silver. Excellent. Now, the Evo, it's a supercar killer. In fact, Top Gear put one up against a Murcielago around the Dunsfold Aerodrome Top Gear test track, and not only did it keep up, it passed the Aventador, because it's just that fast. I mean, that era's like, nowadays the Evos and the Impreza's place has sort of been taken over by hyper hot hatchbacks like the Audi RS3 Performance and the Mercedes A45 S Plus. But I don't care, those don't interest me as much as an Evo. Like, this is for me the best Evo, and I know the Evo 10 gets a lot of hate, but it's unjust. But I prefer the Evo 9. Like, right, favourite is the Evo 9, second favourite is the Evo 10, then third would be the Evo 8, and fourth would probably be the Evo 4. Yeah, I think that's about right. Now, this goes... I really like an Evo. This might be too high, but yeah, I think I'm going to put it above the Aventador and below the C6, because it's just, I love cars. I love like relatively affordable cars that are born from the world of racing. Like, it's not quite a homologation special, but sort of is. But they can just destroy supercars around a circuit. I mean, obviously not in a drag race, but hey, what was the saying? It was straight roads are for fast cars and twisty roads are for fast drivers. It's not exactly what he said, but that was a quote from the great Colin McRae. Now, the next car is the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta, which was also on the cover of Need for Speed Rivals. Now, you already know I prefer the 550 to the F12, but it's not that opinion hasn't changed. Now, but the F12 is still a brilliant car. It still contains that glorious V12 engine, handles brilliantly. As far as a Ferrari goes, it's probably about as practical as it could ever be, apart from the FF, the GTC Lusso, and the Pura Sangue, which isn't a proper Ferrari. But yeah, the F12 is a brilliant car, and I think in Berlinetta form, it's actually kind of beautiful. It's like beautiful in a subtly aggressive manner. Like, this is probably why I like the front engine Ferrari GTs more, because they're just like better looking. But then again, the 458 and the 488 are also brilliant looking cars. So yeah, just Ferrari, they make beautiful cars. Nothing more I can say about it really. I think I prefer it to the Aventador actually. Yeah, I think I do. Now, next car, Ferrari F50, that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed 2. The F50. Now, I know a few people might disagree with me on this, but what it is basically just an improved F40, and certainly Clarkson would disagree with me on this. He reportedly hates the car, but it's just, I feel better in every way. It's faster. I think its engine sounds better. It's not, and it just looks better and drives. I don't know. I can't comment on whether it drives better because I've unfortunately not been privileged enough to get my hands on either, and I probably never will. But hey, we can all dream, can't we? But I don't know. I just think it's an improvement over the F40. Again, not as revolutionary or as important as the. I mean, was the F40? Well, yeah, the F40 was revolutionary with the carbon fibre and things. But yeah, not as revolutionary as the F40, but still a remarkable car in its own right, and I prefer it to the F40. And I think I'm gonna put it below the Diablo. Yeah, supposed to put it. Anyway, next car, Lamborghini Gallardo LP560-4, which was featured with the 370 on the cover of Need for Speed World. Now, as far as how much I like Gallardos, I usually prefer the later ones. So this ends up being like middle height in my middle to the higher end in my opinion on Gallardos. But the Gallardo in general is still a brilliant car with that lovely V10 engine, and just like, I know I said I like the mad Lamborghinis, but there is something sort of appealing about a more livable, more, what's the word? More, not usable, but like tamer, more, I don't know. But yeah, just a more user-friendly Lamborghini. There is something sort of appealing about that. I think I'm going to put it above the GTR. I think that's a good place to put it. Now, next car, Maserati Gran Turismo. Now, this was on the cover of Need for Speed Shift 2, except it wasn't, because on the cover of Shift 2 they had a racing, like almost GT2 spec like this Nissan Maserati Gran Turismo. But as far as I could find out, that doesn't exist in real life, so I've had to go with the Maserati Gran Turismo S, which is about as close as we can get, really, because there was no Maserati Gran Turismo racing car. The last time Maserati did a proper racing car was the MC12 Trofeo. No, that wasn't right. It was MC12 Trofeo. There's no MC20 racing car. There's that MC20 GT2, but that's not a proper race car. But yes, I'm getting a bit distracted. For the Gran Turismo, excellent, gorgeous looking thing. Not a true sports car, more of a GT. But where do I put it? Now, I think I like the Gran Turismo a lot more than most people. I mean, I'm probably a bit of a sucker for a Maserati. I just think they look gorgeous, and again, usually their rivals are just better cars, but I'd rather have a Maserati. I think I'm actually going to put it above the Corvette and below the GTR. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, next car, Nissan GTR GT1, which joined the Maserati on the cover of Need for Speed Shift. Now, the GT1 era was definitely my favourite period of GT racing. Actually, both GT1 eras, like the GT1 with the CLK GTR and the Porsche 911 GT1, and the GT1 with things like this Nissan and this Corvette, like those are my two favourite eras of GT racing, with maybe the GTEs with the 911 RSR and things being close behind. Now, this obviously goes above the regular GTR, and honestly, I think it's only fair to put it with the Corvette and like one step below the Corvette. Now, I talked about V-Rally earlier with the Peugeot 206 that was in V-Rally 2. Now, this is a car that was in V-Rally 1, a Subaru Impreza WRC rally car. Now, the 555 blue and gold Imprezas, or blue and yellow, some of the best looking cars in all of racing, and I will stand by that. And this original one, probably the best of them all. I think, completely honestly, I'd have it over an F50. It's just a monumentously pretty car. That's not a word, but you get what I mean. It's just a very pretty racing car, and it's very, very fast and just a great rally car. I don't think this one won the season it was in. Actually, I think it might have. I mean, I'll put some text up on screen or edit myself in to tell you whether that was true or not, but yes, just excellent car. And again, if Need for Speed did rally games, which actually now that EA have got rid of Codemasters, they might end up doing rally games, knowing them, because EA can't make a good decision for the life of them. Somehow they're managing to still go quite strong with all these IPs, but hey, you never know. Maybe they'll crumble and everywhere, and some better companies can buy up, like Need for Speed and Battlefront and things. But hey, again, we can only dream. Anyway, next car, BMW M3 GT2 ALMS, which was featured on the cover of. Is it ALMS or OLMS? I've always said OLMS, but then only now I've thought, is it ALMS? But hey, it was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Shift, which Shift and Shift 2, quite underrated games. I'd play Shift 2 if you were going to get either of them, because Shift 2 is basically just an improved version of Shift. But yes. Now this, again, I love the GT2 cars, and in GT racing, I don't know, I'm a bit of a fan of like the bigger cars that are turned into low-slung GT machines. For example, which is probably why I love things like the Bentley Continental GT3, and this weird like to the bigger cars in GT racing makes me like the BMW a little bit more than the Corvette, just for whatever reason, and probably because, again, this is probably because of bias as well, because like Need for Speed Shift was the second or third game I ever played, so yeah, there's probably some bias back there. Now for the legend itself, the BMW M3 GTR. Now before I'd have done the racing one, but Need for Speed and BMW did a thing. They actually took one of the racing ones and made it look like the cover car from, obviously, Most Wanted 2005, and that's brilliant. That's really, really cool. And the M3 GTR is just, in terms of how it is as a car and as a racing car, absolutely brilliant. Fast enough to make Porsche try to get it banned, and it sounds absolutely brilliant with that V8 and the straight cut gears. In terms of appearance as well, it's just absolutely fantastic, especially with the colour. Like the colour, maybe like with the filter that Most Wanted had, it didn't look brilliant, but in real life, in the flesh, absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And I know I might be overrating it, even if it is the face of Need for Speed. I just think, I don't know, I'm just a bit of a fan of it recently. Anyway, next car, Lamborghini Murcielago, which was featured on the cover of Need for Speed 2 Hot Pursuit. If you're getting confused, there was Need for Speed Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Right, there was Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, which was in the 90s. Then in 2002 there was Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and then in 2010 there was the Hot Pursuit reboot, not to be confused with the remaster of that game that came out in 2020. The Hot Pursuit didn't need remastering. They should have remastered Need for Speed 2 Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. I'm confusing myself now, so that's how bad it is. But what's not bad is the Murcielago, because this is my second favourite Lamborghini of all time. Now, I prefer the Murcielago LP640 and the SV, but the Murcielago itself is still a brilliant car. Again, it looks like a Lamborghini should. It's angular and low and aggressive, and it's got the final iteration of that original Lamborghini V12, which I think was developed by Giotto Bizzarini. Now, where does it go? Above the Aventador, obviously. And I think it goes above the Evo that I'd mentioned it was racing earlier, because the Evo's brilliant, but I think I desire a Murcielago slightly more. Next car, Polestar 1 Hero Edition, which was for Need for Speed Heat. Now, the Polestar 1 typically is quite an elegant looking thing. This isn't. This is loud and got a massive split wing and a big yellow paint job and a massive wide body. And I commend them for making it exist in real life. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't run because they took the engine and the hybrid system out so they could ship it over to be shown in the US in time to avoid import delays and things. However, the space is still there. You could quite easily slot them back in, and that gives it about over 600 horsepower, so could still give it quite a bit of go. I suspect the aero actually hinders its performance somewhat, but hey, still cool. And honestly, I do prefer it to the 190E. And this might be a wee bit controversial. I mean, it is a bit strong. So I think I'm going to put it below the 370 because it's still a bit strong for me, but it's certainly a lot better than the 190e. Next car, Nissan Skyline GTR R34, that was featured on the cover of Need for Speed Underground. Now, I know the R34 is a very overrated car because of because the same reason for the Supra, because of Fast and Furious. But even before I heard of Fast and Furious, but even since I was a small boy, I've always loved the Skyline, especially the R33 and R34. And I've just liked them all. The R34 is probably my second favourite. My favourite is the criminally underrated R33. But an R34 Skyline in midnight purple would be phenomenal. Unfortunately, they're stupid money now, especially if you want an unmodified one, but doesn't stop me loving it. Is it wrong to put it ahead of a Koenigsegg? Probably, because the Koenigsegg I now see is a bit low. But where does it go, really? I think I'm going to put it in between these Porsches, because I know you can flame grill me in the comments all you want for putting a Skyline too high, but I just love the Skyline. It's brilliant. Fast and Furious notwithstanding, because that does... I mean, I don't like this overrated by Fast and Furious because that's made the prices go up to stupid levels. The same way with the Supra. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, you could probably get one for a quarter of the price of raggy ones going for now. So, yeah. Blame Fast and Furious when your favourite Japanese car costs £1 million for one that's missing 2 wheels. But hey, next car, Lamborghini Reventon, which featured on the cover of 2 games, Need for Speed Nitro and as a police car on the cover of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010. Now, Lamborghini claim it was inspired by fighter jets, which I don't doubt, but for my eyes anyway, it looks like a cross between a Murcielago and an Aventador, and I assume that's what they were doing, like sort of testing the waters for styling of the Aventador. And honestly, I prefer it to the Aventador, at least in terms of looks. The Aventador is probably a better car, but I'd rather have a Reventon, if that makes sense. And I think, yeah, that's a good place to put it. I think I prefer it to the standard Murcielago. Maybe not the LP640 or the SV, but the standard Murcielago I think is an improvement over. Now, next car, Ford Shelby GT500, which appeared as a police car on Need for Speed Nitro, and also I think Need for Speed The Run, although I had the Aventador on it, but I don't know. Now, this for me, this is going to be because of bias, because it was in Hot Pursuit. But this is probably one of my favourite Mustangs, if not my favourite Mustang, and you can really see where my car tastes sort of came from. And honestly, I think I want to put it just one step. I'm moving this Challenger down a bit, as with the Mustang. But honestly, I'm going to put the Mustang at the top. I can't decide anything for life for me, but yeah, I just like this shape of Mustang. Maybe it's not my favourite actually. And hey, if you're going to call a car a Shelby, a very, very fast Mustang is a good place to start. Final car, Aston Martin V12 Vantage, that was on the cover of Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012. Now, I love the V12 Vantage. It's like the V8 Vantage was a brilliant car, but it could have done with a bit more power, which is what the V12 Vantage is. It's just everything great about the V8 Vantage, like it being an Aston Martin sports car, turned into a supercar, but it's still fun. More expensive, yes, but it's still fun. Where does it go, though? I think in between the Aventador and the... No, that's a Gallardo, you idiot. In between the Gallardo and the GTR. But, yes, here's the tier list. What do you think of it? Do you want to dispute a car's placement or just talk about the cars in general? Put it in the comments, and if you want to give me any more ideas for what tier lists I should do in the future, I'll be happy to do them. So yes, hopefully you've had a great day or night or evening or whatever, wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.